Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 30-Minute Gospel. My name is Chris, and I'll be your host as we open and study the Bible together. I'll be reading from the King James Version, but you can feel free to read whichever translation that best suits you. I would just recommend that you have a version that does not delete verses from God's holy word. Each video will be a biblical teaching of 30 minutes or less. My material is completely 100% free, so you can share these videos with family members, co-workers, friends, or anyone you know who either needs to hear the Word of God or wants to study it in a casual setting. The gospel is free to all, so I will not accept any donations, gifts, or beg viewers for money. Please give to your local church or a Christian organization of your choosing. You can reach out to me with questions or comments at 30minutegospel@gmail.com, but please keep your messages respectful and cordial. Please also to remember to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy the Christian content presented here. You can also follow me on Facebook at 30 Minute Gospel with Chris. Well, welcome again, everybody, to the 30-Minute Gospel. We're going to this is the last video we're going to complete on male and female nature, relationships, and the Bible. As we were talking about, we've been talking about how men and women are different, and how they respond to these things. As we just kind of briefly talked about. We talked about how women respond emotionally to things, men respond logically to things. Men are designed to lead, women are designed to submit and be helpful. Men are designed to maintain their frame, the women are coming into their frame. And we talked about how men love lust, women love conditionally. Only with the help of the Holy Spirit can they love each other. We talked about how men and women think differently. Men have nothing boxes, do the box system in their brain. Women, their brain kind of is an electrical unit that kind of everything runs together. We talked about how women test men for strength. The ones that they're married to, they like, they're dating, these sorts of things. They will test them for strength. And we talked about in the last one how women, men have become beta-tized in society. Okay. Um, and so what's been going on, and this just to kind of explain it real quick, and this will be the last video in this. To explain it real quick, what happens is when men and women are dating, they are separate from each other. Okay? Usually the man and woman may see each other once or twice a week, usually on the weekends, because during the week the man's at school, the woman's at school, maybe, or the man is working one place, the woman's working in another place, and they're really busy during the week. They can't really see each other. Maybe they might be able to get together for a quick dinner on a Wednesday night, but not really a whole lot because the husband is working, the wife, or the man is working, the woman's working, so they don't see each other a lot. Okay? Usually in that time, the man is acting very masculine. Usually the man is planning the dates. Usually the man is a little bit mysterious to the woman. Usually they meet each other when they're younger, so there's a lot of potential there for the man. And the woman kind of sees that as masculine. The woman, of course, is acting very feminine because the man is leading, so she's in her feminine mode. She's all nice and sweet and these sorts of things. Women will be testing men during that time, but usually the tests are kind of small. And if we're all honest with each other, which we are, we put on our best face when we're with each other because we're trying to get married to each other. So usually the men will appear more active than they actually are, and the woman will appear much calmer and nicer and sweeter than they normally are. Okay, and more submissive than they normally are. Okay, and so what ends up happening though, once they get married and they start living together, these people, the man and the woman, start seeing who the other person really is. Okay, and what starts to happen is once they get married, the woman will start to test the man. They're like, okay, you were masculine when we dated, you acted like the leader. Now that we're married, I'm going to test you to see if you're going to be that leader. Okay, And sometimes the tests for the woman are going to be much stronger once they're married than when they were dating. Because once you're married, you're really not scared the guy is going, the male is going to leave you. And then the men become a little bit lazier when they get married because they figure, I got the girl, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to do any more of this courtship. I don't need to be a gentleman. I don't need to be, be a leader as much like I was and plan dates and these sorts of things. So the man gets kind of lazy, and then the woman starts to test them, but the tests now are much stronger to see if you're going to lead. So now the wife may bring up something and start like a fight. That's when they usually will. They'll fight like maybe on the honeymoon or whatever to test the man to see if he's going to be strong and masculine. Well, usually what happens is the man is now complacent, and what he wants to do is now he's seeing the woman come at him. He has a stressful job. He's mistaking her attacks or her test as an attack on him and on what he's doing. And so what he does is to maintain the peace, he doesn't stand up or do anything. He kind of backs off, gives in a little bit here and a little bit there. He might fight initially, but it gets to be tiring for him. Well, he doesn't understand this is a test. So what happens is the woman sees him acting like this, sees him gives in, sees him rewarding this behavior, and then she feels like I've got to she loses respect for the man. She feels I've got to lead this relationship. You see, and this is where the dynamics start. Because what the man wants to do is the man has a stressful job. He just wants to come home to peace and quiet. So he just gives in to his wife to maintain the peace. Most of you men know what I'm talking about here. Most ladies will know what I'm talking about here. But the man will give in. Giving in to the peace, the woman cannot stand that. She cannot stand seeing her husband, who used to court her, who used to plan dates and these sorts of things, maybe come over to her apartment and fix things if something broke, or give her a ride somewhere. She can't stand him just sitting around playing video games or something, or just sitting around watching a football game. This is what he normally does, but of course when he was dating her, he wasn't showing her this. He was showing her as a man of action. If he had shown her this side, she wouldn't have gotten married to her. Just like if the woman had shown him this side of her before they got married, he wouldn't have gotten married to her. But now he thinks that his wife is a bait and switch because she's acting like this, and the wife thinks the husband is the bait and switch because he's acting like this. This causes the spiral, the spiral out of control. The man just gives in. He becomes the yes steer. The yes steer, that's the worst thing a man can become. Because when he becomes the yes steer, he's become the betatized male. The woman is in control of the relationship. She doesn't want to be there. She's angry at him. She's losing respect for him. The marriage gets worse and worse and worse till they get to the roommate situation. They're not having sex. They're not having any of this. Okay? And I just want to make this point too about sex. That is one reason why you should never, and unfortunately I can't say this for myself, but I tell it to everybody now, you should never have sex before marriage. Never. Because what happens is the woman, especially, more than the man, but the woman is going to associate sex not as part of the marriage bond, but she's going to associate it with having fun. Okay? There's going to be a psychological association there. Okay? So what happens is if you're dating, for example, and you go out and you go to a dinner and a movie, and then you guys have sex after the movie, she's going to associate it with dinner and a movie, or dinner and bowling, or whatever activity. She's going to associate it with fun times. But the problem is that sometimes you have to, in a marriage, you should be having sex in non-fun times too as well. So what she's going to associate it with is, let's just say it's a Friday night, you both are home and just hanging out. The man says, I want to have sex. The girl's going to go, may reject him simply on the fact that she's going to associate it like, well, if you take me out to dinner and take me to a movie, then we can have sex. They're going to associate. They're not going to associate it for a Wednesday night in a work week or something like that, hey, the man needs to have sex. No, 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 it's not fun time right now. It's serious time. But it's not about fun. It's about maintaining the marriage bond. You see, that's why if you wait till marriage, then the woman and the man associate sex with the marriage bond. You see, before, when you're not married and you're doing it, you're having it when you're getting together on dates, so he and she will associate it with fun time. But it's not, it is a fun activity, but it's a very important activity, as we talked about in previous videos. It's an important activity to maintain the union. The two shall become one flesh. That's what God says. He did not say the two shall become financially secure. The two shall communicate well. The two shall become one flesh. That's how you become one flesh, is through this, is through sexual intercourse. Okay? And so when that's the problem, is that when you have sex out of wedlock, or out before you get married, you're going to associate the sex with fun activities, with fun time. Well, most of the time when you get married, you're not having fun time. Like before, you were going on dates, 2 dates a week. Now when you're married, you may go on a date night a month, sometimes a date night out of 2 months. Well, if the woman or the man is just associating it with fun time, that's all the sex you're going to get. And so that's why it's very important to do that. But that's a side note. It's very important to wait till you're married. That's a side note. But what I'm trying to say is the man will become betatized by the wife, seeing how much she can control him. She's going to test how much she can control you. Like, as they said, you stacked the dishwasher wrong. And to keep the peace, what is the husband going to do? He's going to stack it the way she wants to stack it. And that is not what she wanted you to do. It was a test. She's gonna tell you, like, where do you want to eat? And you, I don't know, wherever you want to eat, honey, whatever you want to eat tonight. That's not what she's looking for. You just failed the test. You see what I mean? They're gonna test you with certain. You're gonna come home and they're just gonna get angry at you, and you just go, yes, dear, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. That's the worst thing you can say, is if you haven't done anything. You see, that's what happens, is the man becomes betatized. He becomes a weak male. The woman is no longer attracted to him. She's lost attracted to him because usually the man, when they get married, they stop working out, they stop hanging out with friends, they stop doing the masculine things that the woman found attracted to him in the first place. And so when he stops hanging out with his friends, if he gains weight, if he's just lazy when he comes home from work, he never takes her on date nights, he never leads in the relationship, he fails all of her tests, she's going to lose respect for him. If a woman can't respect you, she can't love you, and if she can't love you, she definitely can't have sex with you. Okay? And so that marriage dries up, and the husband thinks that the wife is just doing it. Well, the husband, it is the wife, but the husband's also the husband. I really come on to them because society is making them beta men, and that's been a big problem. Okay, when a man becomes betatized, the woman will sense weakness in him. She will continue to test the men. If the man fails more and more, the wife will feel unsafe and want to leave. It's imperative that men remain strong in a marriage. You need to be the same person when you get married that you were when you were dating. You need to take her on those date nights. You need to pass her test. How do you pass her test? I'm going to talk about that. But you need to be doing things. Fix those things around the house. Mow the yard, take her out on a date night, these sorts of things, pamper her a little bit, but take her on surprise trips. The men, unfortunately, we cannot stop. We're not allowed to stop. We have to work. See, many men will work 8 to 5, come home, just put their feet up on the couch, grab a beer, and just sit there and don't do anything. Go in their nothing box. That's no. At that time, you got to come. When I get done from work, I come home, I go for a walk with my wife, and then when we get back, I usually will wash the dishes or clean up. I'm helping her out with things. I'm spending time with the boy, spending time with her. Yeah, I don't put my feet up and just vacate. I used to, and just watch TV. I used to do that. I don't do that anymore. Okay, because you can't do that anymore. As a man, you have to do that. You have to be strong. Okay. And another thing that happens is unfortunately for what happens with women, and I think they do it subconsciously, is with in the relationship, women are always classifying their husbands. They never have one classification for their husband. Like a husband just sees a wife, she's like, "Oh, she's a keeper, she's good. I'm going to love her." But depending upon what the way you're acting, the woman can see you as the strong masculine leader, or she can friend zone you, or she can leave you. She'll move you around in that relationship based upon this. If you're looking at rating you on a scale of 1 to 10, if you're acting too beta, she'll rank you as a 5, but if you're acting truly masculine, she'll rank you as a 10, and that'll move. See, men will just rank the woman as an 8, and that's it. She's beautiful and she's got good morals. She's an 8. But girls, based upon the way you're acting and everything, they'll move you up and down that scale. You could have been a 10 6 months ago, and now you're a 5 because you've gained weight and you've acted beta. And so that's just the truth that men have to realize. But men, you have to be strong. Women will, when they sense that weakness, if they just see you lounging around, being lazy, not doing anything, they're going to test you. They're going to throw a test or do an argument just to see what you're doing, to see how you're going to respond. And when you and if you don't respond correctly and don't pass that test, the woman is going to lose respect for you and she's going to lose attraction for you. Then she'll test you and the test will get worse. They'll get stronger. The arguments will get stronger. The man gets angrier and angrier because the arguments are happening more, but he doesn't realize it's because he's failing the tests. He's not realizing it's the way he's responding to her tests. That's the reason why it's the arguments get more, because she's trying to make you the best man you can be. The wife is your coach, as I explained. She's trying to make you the best man that you can be. And if she senses weakness, she's going to test you to get you to be strong and to respond. And if you don't respond correctly, then the tests are going to get worse. It's going to get the man, and the intimacy is going to dry up. The man's going to be resentful towards the woman because he doesn't realize that he's failing the test. The women, unfortunately, are not direct in telling men they're doing this, but a lot of women don't even know they're doing it. They don't realize that's what they're doing. And because they're not direct and they don't tell the man, "Hey, you're a weak beta, you need to get up," they just kind of make little snide remarks. It's like, "Oh, you've got one of those dad bods now." That's not, you should be direct with the men. Women, you should be going, "Hey, you're overweight. You need to talk about getting exercise. We need to start doing something and exercising." But they hope by giving the hint. There was that scene in the movie. There's a scene in the movie The Breakup. This movie starring Jennifer Aniston and Vince Vaughn. They're a couple that are constantly fighting, and they end up breaking up. But there's a scene in there where it's a perfect example where they get into a fight of how Jennifer Aniston comes in. She sees Vince Vaughn sitting there just lounging around, being lazy man. She wants him to get up and basically she tests him about coming to wash the dishes. He doesn't want to wash the dishes. He just wants to sit there and be lazy. She can see he's overweight and stuff like that, and so they kind of go back and forth in this fighting. She's testing him because he's failed the test. He failed the test the first time. So the test got worse and the arguments got louder. And then he responded not stoically but emotionally. He got angry at her, and then she yelled more at him. And you see, it got worse. He didn't respond correctly. And then, it's just like the double speak, the test that women do. She goes, "You've never bought me flowers." And he said, "Because you said when we were when on our first date, you hated flowers because they were a waste of money." Vince Vaughn is using logic, the man's logical part of his brain. She said she didn't like flowers. But then she turns to him and says, All women love flowers. She was testing him with the flower thing to see if he would give her flowers or see if she could control his behavior. She could. By telling her she doesn't like flowers, he didn't get flowers, so she in that case she realized I can control his behavior. So therefore he is not a strong independent male. He's weak. You see? And she says, I'm dropping hints. How many hints do I have to drop to you about the opera? Men don't respond to the hints. They don't really understand the hints. Because women think that men are mind readers. So he didn't respond to the hints. Because she wasn't direct about it. Now she's being direct about it after he not picking it up. Now he's being direct. Now she's being ugly about it. And you see, then men respond to that. You see, it just explains that's a great scene. It just kind of, I don't like the cursing in that scene, but it just explains the problems that men and women have with communication and understanding. That's why I'm doing these sets of videos, okay? So men, we're going to finish up the last parts of this video talking about men. What do we have to be? We have to be solid rocks. Emotionally, mentally, and physically. Okay? Physically. Men, you need to be lifting weights and being strong. No more of this dad bod 50-pound that thing about starting in the 40s and 50s with these men, and they weigh 300 pounds and they're overweight with their bellies, the Dunlop system, all of that stuff. That is, and having overweight children and these sorts of things, that should be in the past. That is weak, and it's devoid of vigor, and it's just men, you should be lifting weights and exercising and being strong, getting that testosterone flowing. Eating that garbage stops your testosterone, it stops your health. You need to be lifting weights and be physically active. You do not need to be lounging around watching, playing video games and watching TV and spending time in your nothing box, wasting time. You need to be physically active, doing things. You need to find things around the house that you do. Like, for example, every year I clean out the dryer ducts in my house. I go out and I clear out my water heater, and I'm taking care of my yard, and if there's stuff around the house to fix, I'm fixing it. I'm changing the air filters in my house. I'm changing water filters in my house. I'm doing things in my house, taking care of the laundry, these sorts of things. And men, we need to be lifting weights. We need to be doing active things. You need to be getting involved in organizations, getting involved in your church, getting involved in men's groups. You need to be doing things. Okay? Need to be active and constantly. Your schedule should be busy. You should not have just work and then you're just sitting around. No. And you're gaining all that weight, you're eating all that junk food. All the junk food does is take away your testosterone. You need to be a man. Okay, so you need to be one physically. You need to be a rock physically. You need to be a rock mentally. Okay, that means your mind has to be clear. You got to be able to think and be able to lead your family. Okay, and make good decisions. You can't make good decisions when your mind is clouded by all the junk food that you're eating and the beer and the drugs or whatever you're doing. Okay? You need to be eating good, clean, healthy fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and grains, and protein. That's what you need to be eating. Okay? So your mind can think. You need to be leading. What does that mean? Leading. You make the decision. You say, we're going on vacation in June. Where are we going on vacation? We're going to Orlando. How are we getting there? We're driving. Who's driving? I am. What hotel are we staying? We're staying in this hotel. We're going to be buying this house. When are we going to buy this house? In 2 years. Okay? We're going to be doing this. You say, I want my kids to go to college here. I want them to go to school there. This is men making decisions, being active. The wife will start coming to you and making decisions. Do you think we should do this? Do you think we should get a new dryer? Do you think we should get a new car? and then you make the decision. Don't push it off on your wife. You make the decision. You lead. You be mentally tough. Okay? And emotionally, you need to keep your emotions under control. A man whose emotions are not under control is like a city without walls. Okay? What does that mean? That means this is how you pass your wife's test, because she's going to come at you emotionally. She sits there and goes, "Oh, you just are so stupid. You don't know how to do anything." You stand there like a rock. You don't say a word. And you just look at her. And you look at her with no fear in your eyes. Or, you just, and then you respond calmly. You say, "Hey, I'm not going to put up with that talk from you." And you say it in a calm, straight voice. You do not yell back at her, because you're yelling back, you're responding emotionally. If you respond emotionally, the woman thinks you're weak and you can't control yourself, and she thinks that she can control the relationship. That's not what you do. See, that's a test. You respond calmly. You say, "I'm not going to talk to you right now until you calm down. I'm going to go for a walk." You see? You need to lead the decisions for your family. You need to lead them in worship. You need to take your family to church. You say, "We're going to church on Sunday morning at 9 a.m. when church service is." And what if the wife says, "Well, I don't want to go to church?" You say, "Tough, put on your dress, get going." That's how you lead. And if your wife says, "Well, I'm not going," you say, "Fine, well, I'm going." And you go without your wife. You be a man of your word. If you say you're going to do something, you do it. That's how masculine men lead. You say, "Well, you tell the wife, 'Well, you're not going. Me and the kids are going.'" And that's what you do. Okay? You lead your family in worship. You lead them in reading the Bible. Okay? You lead them in prayer. You pray over your children. You tell them God loves them. This is how you lead. You act masculine. You pass your wife's test and remind her that you are in charge and you will take care of issues. So if your wife comes and says, the water line broke in the house. Okay, the water line broke. I will take care of it. And then you go out there, you turn the water off or whatever. You call the water company or whoever you need to call. And you take care of it. Okay? You never retire. Always be working or doing something. The Bible never talks about retirement. Never. Does not speak one word about retirement. These men today that sit there and tell me, "Oh, I quit my job or I stopped working at 60 years old and now I'm just hitting out and partying and everything." No. You need to be working. You need to work part-time. If you want to volunteer, go volunteer at a soup kitchen. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels. Volunteer somewhere. There's something for you to do. Volunteer at your children's school board or at your children's school or at your church. Start up a YouTube channel. That's what I did at 44 years old. You can do this stuff. Lead. Be the man that your wife and your children admire and say, "That's my husband. That's my dad, and I'm proud of him." That's how you do it, men. For women, this is what you need to do. Okay? Respect your husbands. Submit to them. Be as feminine as you can. Know the tests are going to come. But also don't get too hard on him if he responds sometimes emotionally. Because we will. And we won't always pass. But be generous with those tests. And don't give us too hard of a time. And that's it on the female-male behavior. I thank you all for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed these series of videos. And I will leave you with this. Remember, just as Theodore Roosevelt once said, a thorough knowledge of the Bible is worth more than a college education. God bless you all.